For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cassie Whillans. I am doing a cooking demonstration for you this evening, and I've decided to put a cocktail and a wine pairing in with it as well. We are at my sister's house this evening, so you're going to get the full family experience because there's kids, there's dogs, there's everything here. And she, my sister, is the face behind the camera. She has agreed to help me out tonight. So, what's on the menu this evening? When I asked my coworkers what they wanted to see, they said fancy grilled cheeses. So I thought of, after having a meat and cheese platter at home, you have some leftover cheeses. What do you do with them? So I'm showcasing a brie and a smoked cheddar, and we're going to be making a grilled cheese sandwich with each of those. So we'll have two different sandwiches. And for a cocktail, we are doing a gin base cocktail. I love my gin, and I have a wine that we're pairing as well. So I thought we could start with the cocktail. So I have my cocktail glass here. This gin was a gift from a friend of mine. It is distilled in the Okanagan. It gives this beautiful blue color from flower petals that they infuse with it. It's an all-natural process, so they're not adding color to it. It's filled with nice botanical aromas. It smells very herby. I'm really excited. I haven't actually got to try this yet. My fiance has dipped into the bottle a bit, as you can see. So I'm just going to start with a shot glass. I'm gonna do 1 ounce in of my beautiful blue gin. And I am going to take some lime. I'm gonna squeeze that in. As you can see, when it's reacting with the acid, it's actually changing color a little bit. It's a really beautiful process. What I'm going to do also is I have some bitters that I'm gonna add. So I'm just gonna add, pardon?
Of the wine glass. There. Now we can see.
Just gonna add a couple drops. The stuff is a little bit on the bitter side. It's made with different spices. This one is made with, has notes of pepper, Asian spices. So you don't want too much. A couple drops is okay. It's just gonna add a little bit of flavor. I'm gonna add some ice. I probably should have added the ice first, but I like to do it like this, and I like to add lots of ice. And you can use a tonic or a sparkling water. For today, we're doing sparkling water. This is a cherry San Pellegrino. Just gonna kind of top that up. And then I've got my trusty bar spoon that I'm just going to give it a little stir with. And I'm going to garnish with a sprig of rosemary. The rosemary, I find, just infuses it a slight little bit, but you get that smell and it just kind of engages the other senses. So now we've got something to drink as we cook, which makes cooking more enjoyable. So you can see the color change. Perfect. And we'll add the sparkling water, lime, and rosemary. All right, so the first grilled cheese sandwich we're going to make is I'm going to center around brie. So I have a wheel of brie here. I have taken some of the rind off the top and the bottom, not because of any real reason besides if you have too much rind, sometimes it can be a little unpalatable. So you get more ooey gooey melted brie goodness if you have some of the rind removed. So I still have it around the sides and that'll be fine. The next ingredient we're going to use is blackberries. These blackberries look beautiful. They're really nice and big and juicy. I think they'll work really well with the brie. And a lot of times when you're having a charcuterie platter, you have fresh berries with it. So you could substitute blackberries with strawberries or other sorts of berries that you have. Of course, we have butter. This butter is unsalted. And that just happened to be what I had in the house. I have left it on the counter so it is softened. I'm going to use a jam as well, just so that we get a little bit more sweetness. I want a little bit of play with it so that it cuts some of the richness of the brie. This jam, it is a blueberry ice wine jam, and I use a lot in charcuterie platters as well. My secret ingredient is truffle salt. So I love truffle salt. I use it often. I buy mine from the Italian Deli in Edmonton, or you can order it on Amazon or from other specialty food stores. It can be hard to find in your average grocery store and it can be really expensive. So I use truffle salt in scrambled eggs. I use it in my popcorn. I love truffle salt popcorn. It's so delicious. It adds a really nice umami, earthy flavor to it, and the smell just kind of opens up your palate, and it just adds like a little bit of luxury. A little goes a long way. You do not need a lot. I prefer truffle salt over truffle oil. I find truffle oil tends to lose its flavor. So you're adding oil to something, you're making it greasy, but you're not getting a lot of that truffle flavor. So that is why I prefer truffle salt. I'm only going to be sprinkling a little bit of this on the end, so you don't need to use very much. So I'm just gonna kind of set that aside for now. The bread, I just used a sourdough. I did not make this myself. I am not good at sourdough. I'm not good at baking bread. I went to the grocery store and bought bread, and that's okay. All right, so I'm going to start by buttering the bread. It's real butter, not margarine, so of course it's not as spreadable as margarine would be. Everyone's gonna be judging my bread buttering technique here. I hope I don't rip the bread and make myself look like a fool. All right, so there's one buttered bread and the other one. Grilled cheese sandwich, they're comfort food. You don't want them too buttery, but if you don't make them buttery enough, then it's just gonna be toast. So you're not gonna get that like really luxurious butter flavor. Oh my gosh, this butter is like fighting me. Okay, here we go. So I've got my bread buttered. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the jam. I don't need a lot. I just wanna add something for just like a little bit of flavor. It doesn't have to be too much. Sorry if I blocked the shot there with the jar jam. So for the purposes of this, I am gonna put it on each side. But again, we're not doing a lot. I love jam. I don't tend to make it myself. A girlfriend of mine makes beautiful jams, so I tend to get jams given to me a lot. She made me a wonderful crabapple jam that is delicious, but I decided to keep that for myself. All right, next step is the brie. I didn't cut the brie in advance because I find brie will just kind of melt all over the place sometimes. So I'm just gonna cut it now. And as I cut it, I'm just gonna place it on one of the slices of bread. This is a lot of cheese. So if you're lactose intolerant, take your pills before you eat the grilled cheese sandwich. I might kind of cut this one in half and just kind of spread it out a little bit. Okay, next is the blackberries. So I'm just gonna put the blackberries on top. The blackberries will get kind of juicy and they'll release lots of acid. You're going to need acid to kind of cut the richness of the cheese. Okay, and now, there. So this is ready to go on the grill. We have preheated a grill, and I'm just gonna go slap this bad boy on there. Okay, so the next grilled cheese we're going to do is we're using Applewood smoked cheese. Normally, when I cut my wonderful Applewood smoked cheddar, I get more pretty cuts than this. This one was a little bit softer, so it looks a little bit mangled, so forgive the appearance. I have a mustard that we're going to use. This is just like a full grain mustard. It's a little bit on the spicy side. We don't need a lot. We have a Granny Smith apple that we've just cut into little slices. Granny Smith apples, I don't eat them a lot, but I cook with them a lot. So it's not my go-to pick if I just want to eat an apple, but if I'm making an apple crisp or if I'm doing something like this, the acid and the tartness you get from the apple will really complement the richness of the cheese. And they hold up, they hold their structure, they're a firmer apple. Instead of using butter, I'm going to use mayonnaise. So for the outside of the grilled cheese. So it seems to be like a lot of people are using mayonnaise, some people are using butter. So I wanted to kind of showcase one of each. And then at the end, we are going to drizzle with some honey. So this honey comes from a local farm in Byzantin. And this is a creamed honey. Usually I use raw honey, but the raw honey is so hard. This is nice and spreadable, so it works well for a drizzle over top. So this I'm just gonna set aside, and we are going to start with our mayonnaise. Now this is gonna make a little bit of a mess on the cutting board, but that's fine. Okay, spreads a lot easier than the butter, let me tell you that. Okay, so we've got that. For the mustard, I'm going to put that on each slice on the other side. I'm not going to use a lot. This is hot mustard. I don't want to blow out our palates with the hot mustard, so I'm just going to put a little bit on. I just want enough where we get like a little bit of a zing. Okay, there we are. So the next step is I'm going to take our smoked cheddar, and I am going to place just some here. And I'm going to put in our Granny Smith apples. I don't really have a system for putting them in. I just like to stack them. Okay, and just to kind of help the sandwich together, I'm going to add just like a couple slices of cheese on the top, just so that the apples will have something to stick to the bread, and you're not going to have a sloppy, floppy sandwich when you go to flip it over. So now, pop that, and this is ready to go on the grill. Okay, so we're putting the grilled cheese sandwich on the grill. I have this grill on very, very low. So we're just gonna kind of let that sit. I like to let my grilled cheeses cook very slowly over a long period of time so that I get like a really good crunch, and the cheese gets really yummy and gooey. All right, so we're gonna let this cook and we're gonna work on our next grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, so this is going on the grill next to our other one, and we're gonna let these sit here and cook, and we'll check on them in a little bit. That's pretty good here. All right, so now we're moving on to my favorite part, and that is the wine. The ginny gin went down really nice and smooth. It got me kind of in the, I wanna eat some nom noms, but with my food, I want wine. So I actually opened this bottle up about half hour ago. I like to open up my wine, let it breathe a little bit. This is a bottle from Portugal. It is a blend, but the main grape is Syrah. The reason I picked this one is because it's gonna pair really, really great with rich cheeses. I actually wrote the tasting notes down because I cheated. So you're going to get the aromas of ripe cherries, plums, wild blueberries. We're using berries in our cooking, so they're gonna play off of each other. It has an easygoing palate with some mocha, crushed purple flowers, smooth, has a nice luxurious finish, soft tannins, and makes for a plush experience. I'm not gonna lie, I got this wine from my Gargoyle Wine Club, so it came with the tasting notes. So I'm actually not that fancy. I'm just reading the little card that it came with. Okay, so let's pour it in the glass and let's check it out. Okay, so we've got a nice deep red color. I like to swirl around a little bit just to kind of get those aromas out. I like to give it a smell. I definitely am smelling the cherries. That's what I'm getting first off. When I first started swirling and smelling wine, I thought, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna swirl it and I'm gonna stick my nose right in that wine glass. I didn't realize, and I was like, why am I not smelling all these wonderful things that everyone is talking about? All I was smelling is the alcohol. So you actually want to bring it out a little bit. You don't want to be like right in the wine glass. So just kind of swirl, I'll smell. I'm getting kind of like a cedarwood smell. I'm not really getting as much as the plum and wild berries, but it's wine, so it's up to interpretation. As my fiance would say, after one smell, these grapes were picked on a Monday. Definitely from a happy farm. Terrain is shale for sure. South facing, this is gonna be good wine. Nice little taste. I'm getting a lot of that fruit. I think this wine's gonna be delicious with my food. My thing with wine, especially on a weekday, is if I drink too much wine, I'm gonna get wine insomnia. And I think this is something that plagues a lot of people. So I tend to do a 2-glass minimum on a weeknight, or 1 glass, but if it's really tasty, you just like kind of need that second glass. Just make sure you are equaling out the amount of wine you're drinking with double the water so that you don't kind of have that like groggy wine brain the next morning, or else your boss might be like, what's wrong with you? And you just tell them you had 2 glasses of wine or 3 and they might not appreciate you very much. Okay, so our wine is poured. It smells delicious, it tastes delicious. The grilled cheese sandwiches are sizzling. I can hear them bubbling and popping away. So I'm just going to babysit those a little bit and we'll be back in a second. All right, so my sister informed me that when I was talking about wine, I said that on a weeknight, you want a 2-glass minimum. I misspoke. As much as I would love to have a 2-glass minimum per weeknight, that is not doable. I will never sleep. It is a 2-glass maximum for me on a weeknight, or else the wine insomnia comes in. So just to clarify that, still love my wine, but 2-glass maximum on the weeknights. I do want to talk about the campaign. Thank you so much for watching my virtual offering. I hope you enjoyed it. Please donate if you can. No donation is too small. You can go to the website and make a pledge, or you can get taken off of your paycheck. And don't feel that you have to donate to United Way either. If you have a charity that is close to your heart, you can pick any charity. There's a huge list of them. I'm going to give a little shout out to one of my favorite charities in town. which is Bandage Paws. If you have a heart for animals or something like that, you know, you could give to Bandage Paws. Or you could donate to United Way, whatever works for you. I'm not gonna land a big guilt trip. It's just, please donate if you can. Even $1 will help someone. It goes to a good cause. It's gonna help local communities. And we know the need is great right now. So like the slogan of this year, now more than ever. So I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope I didn't bore your ears off. And thank you so much. Okay, so our grilled cheeses are done grilling. They're piping hot, they're right off the stove. You can see I got like a really nice deep golden brown. It's really crunchy, and that's the way I like them. If you prefer your grilled cheeses to be, you know, like brown but softer, you could just cook it however you see fit. So this one, we are putting the truffle salt on. So I open it up. Right away you get this like wave of super earthy, and you can see it's just like a kind of like a coarser salt with little bits of black truffle. You don't need a lot, so it's gonna be a small pinch. You just kind of put it over. I'm going to flip it over, hopefully not like burning my fingers off. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so a little goes a long way with the truffle salt. Okay, gonna get a plate. No fun. Wait your turn. Okay, and then we're gonna put it in as I drop it everywhere. Kind of wanted to hold it up so that you could see how the berries have broken down. So you're getting like a nice juicy kind of combination of the brie, the berry. It's gonna be delicious. It's still gonna be very savory as well. So there is number one. Number two, just gonna slide that over. I want to drizzle with this some honey. So I'm gonna see how my drizzling is gonna be. Get my drizz on. Okay. And my drizzling isn't very good today, but we'll get like a good little drizzle. I don't want too much honey, just enough to give like a little bit of sweetness. Honey is one of those things that if you have too much of it, it just kind of like overpowers and everything just tastes like stickingly sweet. But I feel like that is going to be enough, and it's going to balance some of those other flavors. And the same thing, we'll give it a little cut. So we've got melted cheese. Our apples stayed nice and firm. Put it on the plate. So we've got here two very different fancy grilled cheeses. Like a few exotic ingredients, but you could opt out of those. Those are just extras if you want like the truffle salt. You could play around with other fruits. You could add some bacon or something. Some bacon would go really great with the Applewood smoked cheddar. I just didn't want it to get too salty. But there's just lots of like fun things you can do with grilled cheese sandwiches. And that is my demonstration. Bon appetit.